So what is HSE management system? HSE management system is a framework which we use or which we follow in order to create a protocols or a set of procedures in order to implement safety, health and environmental management system for a particular organization. Okay, so it is how it is done. It has to be done on based on some standards. Okay, so what are those standards? Either we follow ISO or we follow OSHA standards. Apart from OSHA, PSM that we know, we have set of guidelines that OSHA has established for all its American companies to follow a set of protocols in implementing safety management system. So either we use OSHA's principles or we use ISO standards, or else we have other HSG 65 model which we know, and by using those frameworks we implement or create a management system. Okay, it is a set of protocols. So what sort of protocols is required for any management system to be established? For any management system to be established, we need to have a policy. Policy is like a head of a management system. Without policy, we cannot implement management system. Why we cannot implement a management system? Because while implementing management system, we have set of goals and targets. We have certain vision for how the performance of the particular safety system should be in the future. Okay, so without having set of targets and objectives, we cannot establish goals. Okay, so this management system is followed by an organization. An organization is a collective, is a collection of people. Okay, working under several positions. Okay, they have their own responsibilities. They are accountable for their work, whatever they are assigned to. So without a policy, we cannot implement a management system. Okay, so what is a policy? So policy will have set of targets or goals. Okay, policy will have a set of targets or goals. So these targets, what is a target? So targets are meant to be set as per SMART objectives, which SMART means it should be specific, target should be specific, it should be measurable, it should be achievable, reasonable and time bound. So any target, if you set, it has to be specific. That means like 0 LTA. I don't want any accidents. Okay, 0 incidents. So let us just think, if I say 0 LTI. Okay, let us just say 0 LTA. Is it achievable? Is it reasonable? Okay, first, is it specific? Specific, right? Is it measurable? 0 is a number, so it is measurable. A, is it achievable? Can we achieve 0 LTA? What is an LTA? Lost time incident, right? So is it achievable? Can it be achieved?
No.
No. Why no? Yes. Yes means why yes, no means why no. See, if there are only 10 people working in a company, okay, can I not take care of my 10 people working for me? Then is it achievable?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just increase one more 0. Is it achievable? Of course, with some strict safety procedures and all, it is achievable. I'll add one more 0. Is it achievable?
There's a chance.
There is a chance that we can achieve it, but there might be some incidents, minor. There might be some minor incidents, not major, but still 0 LTA is achievable. Okay, let's just add one more 0. Now is it achievable?
No.
It is becoming tough. As the people are increasing, the monitoring that we can do for a limited set of people cannot be done for the larger set of people. We need to improve our monitoring. We need to improve our protocols. Okay? We need to improve our training so that everyone knows exactly what the protocol says and they implement the same. So all the targets has to be time bound. time bound, let's say 1 year, okay, 2 years, 3 years. So whatever, if you want to keep a target for 3 years, your target should be according to this time frame, because reviewing and continuously improving our management system is the key objective. We have to improve. If, let's just say, 20 years back I have framed one SOP, okay, 20 years back. Now if I am using the same SOP, will that work safely? No, because the standards might be updated, the protocols might be updated, the working procedure might be updated, your equipment might be new, so that will not work out. So we have to improve the management system continuously, okay, and periodically. So that is why keeping a period is much more important, okay. So this policy will be signed by the topmost management to show the commitment towards implementation of safety management system, and it clearly states what are the objectives, targets, goals, and what sort of responsibilities that employer has to implement safety, and what are the responsibilities that employee will have to follow the same protocols, and apart from that, what sort of arrangements that can be that can be made to implement safety. Because without arrangement we will not have resources. Without resources, can we implement safety? In order to implement safety, we have several equipments, emergency equipments, fire equipments, or we have to conduct training sessions, we have to do third-party inspections, we have to bring in competent people. So there are some resources required to implement safety. So whenever there is a resources required to implement safety, there is a cost involved in implementing safety, okay. Always remember that there is a cost involved for implementing safety, okay. So how, again, if you just want to know about the cost based implementation system, it is a very good topic. It is very much helpful, like you can do your big research project, PhD project, okay, because most of the people are trying to understand the difference between cost of accident, implications of cost of accident and cost of implementation of safety. When compared to both those two things, certainly implementing safety comes at a cheaper price than bearing the cost of an accident, okay. So this is about policy. Now once policy is framed, okay, what you have to do? Policy is framed, then you have to have a
discussion.
Okay, we need to have an organization. So organization is set of people, okay, collective set of people, different, see, in an organization, if you are talking about safety, safety is not only the responsibility of a safety person. We are just an advisory body giving advices, monitoring implementation, and we are adding things when things come to show, okay. When it is really required, we go and help out people to work safely, okay. So we are just an advisory body, okay. We are monitoring persons. We are not decision makers, key decision makers. Key decision makers is always management, okay. So here every department has their own responsibility to implement safety. It is not just safety department. You have production has their own responsibility of implementing safety, quality has its own responsibility of implementing safety. They have their own protocols that they need to follow, okay. So every person's contribution is very much important in implementing safety, from top level to low level. We have top level management, middle level management, and low level management, and apart from that we have workers down the line, okay. So even every employee is responsible for his own safety, okay. If he thinks, no, I don't think these protocols are safe, I don't think this work can be done safely, every employee has their own right to raise his voice against the concerns, safety concerns. They have to sort it out. They should not work at any cost until and unless the issue is resolved, okay, right. Because we cannot prioritize lives over some silly protection, right. Okay. So this organization has different level of people. So we have technical people till the workers. So everyone has their own responsibility. So we have to check their competency. Organization is set of people, so we have to hire people. Okay, when we are hiring people, we have to check whether they are competent. And every person has their own roles, responsibilities, and they are accountable. Okay, for their work. They are accountable for their work. If there is no accountability, they say, I don't know, I am not accountable for the job. They have their own specific roles and responsibilities. They are accountable for their job, and they have to be competent. So competency means they have to have knowledge to do the job, ability to do the job. They should have the sufficient training, and they should have sufficient experience. So whenever we are hiring people, we will take care of these 4 qualities, and then only we will hire the person. So now the next question is, sir, we don't have experience. So who will hire us? You have sufficient knowledge, you have ability, training will be given. Any people, fresher, getting into the company will be taken as a trainee. For 3 months, 6 months, once they are trained enough, then you will be tagged on by an experienced people, so you will have sufficient experience to go out and work in the field. So this is how normally it is done for freshers. Okay, like you might have known about GET and all, right? So similarly, even in safety, will be taken as a trainee, and once a training period will be like somewhere 3 months to 6 months depending on the company and organization rules, and then once you have a grasp of their own procedures, then you will be left alone in the field to work on. Okay, so this is how organization is. So every organization has its own organization chart. What is an organization chart? See, if you are taking a project, we have different set of people, right? Different levels. That means we have our project manager, for example, in a short. So under project manager alone can't guide or look after all departments. So we have departmental managers like construction manager, and we have quality manager, we have HSE manager, we have HR admin manager. Okay, so 3 different, and apart from that, okay, let's just say P&M manager. Okay, depending on the organization's structure, I mean, the bigger the project is, the different departments we have, the more departments we have. Okay, we have accounts. Okay, so many departments are there. So all the departments will be guided by project manager. Okay, and here and underneath every department we have subordinates. Under HSE manager we have safety engineers or HSE engineers. Under HSE engineers we have HSE officer. Under officer we have assistant. Okay, let's just say in some cases we have senior HSE engineer, assistant manager, and we have deputy managers. That depends on the complexity of the particular organization. So similarly here we have HR assistant. Okay, we have accountant here. Under construction manager we have project engineers. Under engineers we have supervisors. Under supervisor we have foreman. Okay, under them we have worker. So here quality officer we have. Okay, and similarly we have engineer, and we have some maintenance person. Okay, so this is how an sample organization chart will be. What is the importance of organization chart? See, if you are working, say, if you are working in a field, okay, you are working in a HSE officer position. In a field, you will directly work with these guys. Okay, in a field, you will be directly working with, you will directly work with these guys. You will not go and interact with any managers, most probably. Okay, so now, okay, say this guy will come to you and say, no, this work has to be done immediately and in this way. He will come and say, you give priority to this task. Will you execute that order? Will you execute that instruction? Yes or no? Why yes? He is construction manager. You are into safety department. Why you are obeying the construction manager's word? You have to obey HSE manager's word. Okay? But the communication should always will always flow in a particular manner. Okay? The communication will go down the line. It should not come from anywhere else. Communication should flow only from one line. That means if assistant has to communicate something, he has to communicate to HSE officer, he has to communicate to HSE engineer, then HSE manager, and then he will communicate with the PM. Okay? There should not be any breaks in this flow of communication, because if the communication is not proper, what will happen? Misunderstanding. We cannot convey all the things properly. If we need to communicate it technically, only engineers can do it technically. A foreman cannot do it technically, right? And second thing, if every engineer or every foreman will go to project manager in order to communicate their problems, what is the use of so many managers? You are wasting bunch of amounts in paying their salaries, correct? So, the purpose of organization chart is to say that every employee has only one boss. If you are working as HSE officer, your boss is only HSE engineer, not HSE manager. You need to take instructions from HSE engineer. Okay, if HSE manager has to communicate to HSE officer, then it has to go through HSE engineers and then it has to come to HSE officer. So this system has to be followed. So that the communication will be clear, instructions will be clear, there will be no doubts about what is happening and everyone knows what is happening. Okay, so it saves time, money, effort and everything. Things will be crystal clear. Why communication is so much important? Because if not today, tomorrow we have to deal with accidents, we have to deal with emergencies. If you don't follow the communication protocols, you will not be able to communicate in a way. Okay, so instead of calling HSE manager, you will call somebody else and that guy don't know what to take, what sort of action to take, and it becomes difficult to deal with the particular scenario. Okay, right. So you understood this organization chart? This is very important. Or preparing an organization chart is also very important. You have to do it. Okay. And second thing, that doesn't mean that there should be no communication between the managers. Okay. So interdepartmental coordination is very much important. Interdepartmental coordination and communication is very much important. For example, say, now there are two departments, purchase and stores. Purchase department has said that, okay, they have taken some MR, material request has been raised, they have purchased the material has come and store person has to collect it. Now if there is no communication that the material has come, who will collect the material? No one will collect the material. Purchase department will think store guy will take. Store guy will think that purchase department hasn't got the material yet. But who is getting all the delays? Who is going to bear all the delays? Production. Production guys should be bearing the delays. So this will build up later the thing. So we have raised the request, everything is processed. So where is the material? They will track down and they will find out that it is at in between purchase and store. No one is taking the responsibility for transferring the material from this department to that department because no inter-departmental communication. You will see all those things. If you are working in an industry, ego will come, politics will come, there are many things, so you have to deal with it, part of a job. Okay, So if there is no proper interdepartmental communication, what happens is the delay has to be borne by the organization. See, it is not just the failure of one person or one department, it is a failure of whole organization. Okay, always see, if you are playing a game, okay, take for example cricket, 11 persons are playing a game. If one fails, the whole team fails. Okay, it is not just one person performing and the team wins, right? No, everyone has to perform, then only the team will win. Similarly, in an industry or any organization that you are working with, it is a whole organization who has to succeed. So, if the organization has to succeed, then the discipline has to be there. So, this communication protocols, coordination, work ethics, so all these things are taken care of. So, if you just look at some companies, MNC companies, people are eager to work with MNC companies. Why? The first reason is corporate style, work culture, work-life balance, work culture. Okay, but after entering, you will find the pros and cons. It's too early to discuss, but still, yes, in MNC culture, you can find that ethics, work culture, and a systematic way of dealing with things. So people are so easygoing. It's not like, okay, I don't have much burden to think about. This is just my job, and I just need to finish it and give it off. Finish. Nothing else to do. But if you're going for some company, random company which doesn't have a system to follow, you are the boss for everything. All the jobs are assigned to you. Today your production, tomorrow your quality, day after tomorrow you have to look after store as well. Right? Happens. If you are working with a company with no proper system, this happens. Literally some people ask you how to do all the jobs. Small projects will be there, construction projects and all, right? Only hardly 5 people or 10 people will be working in a project, and client, because of client asking them, we need to have so and so people, then they say, okay, fine, I'll engage one person, but he will do all the tasks. Okay, but that is burdensome. Okay, your effectiveness or efficiency of work will be down because you don't know what work you're doing. Today's work will not be complete, it will be delayed. Tomorrow you have to complete. Then what about tomorrow's task? You are already overloaded with 5-6 different responsibilities. It's not going to work out. Okay? So interdepartmental communication is important. Always remember, in an organization there has to be proper coordination, communication, control and cooperation. This force is along with competence. Okay? There is the structure of an organization. So once organization is done, then we have to plan things. Fine, now we have a team who can work, who are part of a system, but what are they going to do? Okay, so they have to plan things. What are they going to do? So now you have your planning and implementation. In this planning and implementation, okay, you have to prepare all the relevant procedures. What procedures you will prepare? You will prepare HSE plan, risk management, HERA systems, formats, checklists, everything will come. Okay. Accident management or incident management. Okay, incident or accident management. So if there is an incident, how are you going to react? What sort of investigation procedures are you going to use? What sort of formats, checklists, how to communicate, who is what, everything will come. And you have environmental management, and you have emergency management system. I'm just keeping everything in short form. Okay, you have emergency management system. You have, if it is a big company, dealing with some toxic chemicals, you have to have occupational health and hygiene plans for this. You need to have inspection checklists, all the documents which are required, documents, okay. Documents required for implementation, okay. you need to have an auditing system. So you need to prepare your auditing procedures, your review procedures. Like I said, without review, your management system is incomplete. Okay, and apart from that, meetings, statistics, reports, KPIs, all these documents will add up one by one. So all these things you need to prepare. Once you prepare all these things, you need to train your person in implementing those things. You have already resources. List out all the resources that you need. Okay, you can just keep resource management. You have to list out all the resources that you need for implementing safety. You need to make sure that you bring all those materials, and you bring means you have to raise an MR, get it approved by your PM. Okay, and then once the resources come, you have to implement safety. Okay, like be it housekeeping, marking, okay, be it inspections. Okay, all these things you need to take care of, right? Now, in planning and implementation, there is one more concept which is important, that is budgeting, safety budgeting. Normally, any company will, by the end of a financial year or something, they will have a meeting of as to how or what should be the budget assigned for implementing safety for the particular financial year. Okay, so you as a safety professional or a manager, you need to prepare the safety budget and produce it to the particular project head or general manager and get it approved. So they will ask you, what are you going to do this year? So what sort of improvements you are going to take this year? See, safety is not a thing that you implement today and it will be lasting for lifelong. No. Safety has to be monitored and implemented daily. Okay, it is every day's duty. Every day something new we will learn, everything new we will implement. So we will have to take care of those things on a daily basis. So this year you might have some targets. Okay, I just want to improve one particular system. You have done it. So next year you have your targets of implementing one more system. Okay, so you keep on continuously improving, slowly, step by step. Okay, so that year's plans and procedure, that year's budgeting will come as per your suggestion. What are you going to do? What are you going to implement? So how much it is going to cost apart from regular? Okay, so always remember one thing, in budgeting we have two things. One is consumable and non-consumable items. In general we say gloves and all these things are consumable items. This is part of production. Never keep this in part of your budget. If you want to keep it, just keep it as consumables and throw it off to your production side, because they have to take care of the production process. It is mandatory to have gloves, to use gloves in production process. So these consumables should be budgeted by the production. Okay, in safety you just keep the things what you require. I need one projector for my training room, I need some training materials, I need some softwares, or I need some displays, I need windsocks which needs to be replaced, or I need some rescue equipments like SCABA, respirators and all these things. These are non-consumable, it is not a part of regular consumable items. So those things you'll keep in budget. Other things, part of production, you can just bluntly say, see, every person has to use this one, so it is consumables. Production will take care of the budget regarding those PPEs and all. Okay, right. And resource management, this is also important to monitor the stock of PPEs and your equipments on at least weekly or monthly basis, so that you'll know when the levels are low, you'll go and order it out again and again. Okay, so this is what you'll be doing in planning and implementation. First thing is you will prepare all the procedures, checklists and documents required for implementing the management system, and then you'll go train people, use the resources in implementing the same procedures and protocols. Okay, done. As simple as that. Easier said than done, right? Okay, next is monitoring and implementation. Monitoring. You need to monitor, right? You have your targets. Are we reaching our targets or not? How will you know? You have to monitor. Monitoring by safety inspections, auditings, and you have your KPIs. Okay, frame those KPIs and With all these things, you will be able to monitor your safety implementation. Simple. Okay, that is your first job is monitoring normally. These are all will come as a managerial aspects, but monitoring is a field-based job. You have to inspect daily, audit, to give, check the response of employees. If you have done some training or if you have implemented something, what is the benefit that you are getting? See, many people think, okay, fine, I got an idea, I'll do this. No, you should not bluntly go and implement an idea. Just because you have got one, you should not implement. You should have any sort of idea, you should have a clear set of mind or clear vision as to what my KPI is going to be, how it is going to improve the statistics or performance of the safety management system. Okay, if I am going to implement this is what I am going to look at. If you have the clear vision, go and implement the idea. If you are not sure, okay, you discuss with other people and then come to a conclusion. Even though if you have an idea, implementing will not do anything good, scrap it off or keep it for your future. You can just write it down stating that, okay, I had this idea but not feasible to implement it here because it will not do anything good. Okay, this idea might come out to be good in some other organization. If you are going to change industries, then it might be feasible over there. Okay, so that's why you should be looking at things. Okay, and my sincere advice is, whenever you are going to a company, new company, okay, even though you have 10 and 20 years of experience, right from the day one, don't start pushing things. Okay, see, every company has their own set of procedures and protocols. So when you are entering into a company, at least take 3 to 4 months time in adjusting to the environment and the new procedures. Okay, if you are shifting from company to company, or even though you are a fresher, what you need to do is you need to know what procedures are these guys following. You understand things, you understand how people are dealing with other people, what sort of procedures they are implementing, what sort of work they are doing. Okay, so it takes at least 3 to 4 months, but as a fresher it will take 6 months. Okay, if a person is experienced, it will take 3 months because he knows exactly. Okay, I mean, more or less the protocols will be same, so he will quickly get adjusted to that particular situation. So 3 to 4 months minimum. Try to understand the procedures, read everything. Okay, and after understanding, you go to field and understand how things are working out with the same protocols. Okay, after that, after 6 months, you will have complete understanding of how the company is running. Okay, then if there are any suggestions, you can tune in one by one. Okay, that's it. Okay, after monitoring, you have your auditing. You have to audit your management system. We have internal and external audit. Internal audit is done by interdepartmental persons, whereas external audit is done by third party person, right? So, why do we conduct this audit? It is because of legal reasons. Okay, most of the time it is for legal reasons, or to know where your system stands with for the existing procedures. Okay, you have already developed a system, so you just want to find out where my system stands now. Okay, what is the effectiveness of the system? So you can just do an audit and find it out. Okay, and after audit, whatever the recommendations, I mean, if there is any non-compliances, violations, then there will be NCRs raised up. You have your corrective measures or actions given there. If you are maintaining an ISO system, then you have to follow CAPA, corrective action and prevent action. You have to maintain that particular record. After maintaining that particular record, okay, all the recommendations come up under audit. If it is agreed by everyone, management team, then you have to implement those recommendations, and then you have to review your system. Okay, so these particular stages will go on because our main motto is continual development. So if you take any management system without continual development, if the loop is not closed, then your management system will not go anywhere. Okay, so you need to review things. Okay, so I'm not just going to brief about review and all, because you have the material and you can just go through it. Okay, why review is required and all, you can just go through it. So basically, if you are going to implement a management system, you need to have these elements. Okay, these elements are a bare minimum. You need to have these things. Got it? Okay, fine. So this is HSE management. Any doubts? Not so far. Right, good. So next, when you are coming to standards or implementing legal aspects, then you need to understand in India we have almost like 43 different kind of rules or acts. Okay, so out of which we know if it is an industry, we have to implement the Factories Act 1948. So how many chapters we have in Factories Act? How many?
3.
12 chapters. Approximately 120 sections. 120 sections or more? Yeah. 120 sections. We have 3 schedules. Okay. So apart from this 12 chapters, okay, the main chapter for us is chapter 3 and chapter 4. This is pertaining to health and this is pertaining to safety. Here we have sections from section 11 to section 20. Here we have section 21 to section 40. Okay, just go through the book. You need to know all the sections, what is there in this and what is there in that. This is completely about hygiene and health of the premises. This is completely about the safety. Okay, safety of young children, prohibition of young children on hazardous machinery, and prohibition of women in cotton, right? And you have your lifts, hoists, confined spaces, okay, everything. If it is a moving part, how to guard those moving part and everything. So under these things we have section 40B, which is the section for safety officers competency. So I just suggest you to go through this. Okay, so under this Factories Act, this is central. Okay, so under every central act, okay, the states are given their states are given rights to have their own rules framed based on this particular Factories Act 1948. So every state has their own factories rules. Okay, factory rules 1950. Now it is Telangana, so Telangana factory rules 1950, AP factory rules 1950, or might be if the year is changed, then just go for that version and get those rules. So what you will follow, the act or the rules? You have to follow the rules, because in safety what we say, if you are implementing legally, the local rules has to be followed. Okay, so you have to follow the local rules. It is a very big book, I think. You know, you have many rules. Now here we have sections, here we have rule number 1, 2, 3, 4. So we just need to go on study those rules. We have this big book. Okay, you can just download it and just go through it. Okay, under this I think 61C, 61A or C is the roles and responsibility of safety officers. Okay, so just try to look at the roles and responsibilities of safety officer. Okay, so this is related to Factories Act, and we have 120 sections. So out of this 120 sections, you have some sections that you need to know. Okay, which is section 88, section 88A and 89. Just go through the section. What is the section? This is for notification of notice of accident. This is notice of dangerous occurrences. This is notice of,
Diseases.
yeah, you sure? 89? Okay.
Okay.
Occupational diseases, not normal diseases, occupational diseases. Okay, so we have these three sections. So under these sections, what we have to do is, if there is any accident or an occupational disease, then we have to report it to inspector of factories. But how do you know which occupational disease you need to report? Then you have to go to third schedule. Third schedule is list of occupational diseases. We have 20 different occupational diseases. If any employee is affected with any of those diseases, you have to report to inspector of factories. Okay, and we have first schedule. What is first schedule? List of industries, which comes under Factories Act. Okay,
Phone data is turned off. You have to connect to a Wi-Fi network.
here list of occupational diseases. Okay, and second schedule
Permissible
is,
limit.
sorry, permissible limits. Okay, so these are the things that are there in your Factories Act. You need to go through this, and I want you to remember few definitions, especially in 2A is the definition for competent person, if I'm not wrong. 2A or something else? 2C? A, B, C. Nothing is there. So I think 2A or 2C? Competent person definition.
Interpretation of
Okay, just look for competent person definition.
controlling. Two, sir. Competent person.
2,
Two like subsection 5 sir.
5. Okay, so whatever is there under the section 2, competent person definition is one thing you have to remember, because if you are going to get your third party tools certified by any of if you want to get your third party inspection done for your lifting tools and equipments or tackles and other things, then you have to go for competent person. These guys are approved from inspector of factories, and you need to get those people to certify your tools and equipments. They give the certificates based on, I think, form 10C, something like that. And if there is any accident, okay, then you have to use form 18 and 18A. Check out these forms. This is the format for reporting accidents for inspector of factories. Okay, so this is about Factories Act. We are not going to discuss in detail about this international acts, because it's not a matter of concern for now. Okay, but if it is UK, we have OSHA, okay, which is Occupational Safety and Health Act 1970. It is also called as William Steger's Act, because this guy, who is a member of parliament at that time, has pressed on an issue stating that no, we need to have an act on health and safety. And then this OSHA Act has been formed in US 1970. And even now, this is a body which takes care of all health and safety matters and aspects. Okay, so we'll just stop there, because if you go in too deep, OSHA itself is a very big subject, so I just don't want to continue there. Second thing is UK. We have Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. Under obviously India is ruled by Britishers, right? So how their acts are, even our acts are more or less the same. The pattern is same. We had modifications very recently. Okay, So in UK we have Occupational Health and Safety, Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. Under this act we have different rules even in UK. So those rules are pertaining to, you know, confined space entry, gases, or you have radar, incident investigation, lifting equipment. So we have different rules over there. We have to follow those rules. So this is in regards to the international laws, only just 2 laws. Okay, so this is the whole HSE management system. See, the whole HSE management system revolves. Whenever we say management system, it is a framework. Okay, it is a framework. Don't think about, occupational health hazards. No, management system, when you are strictly speaking about, it is just a framework as to how to implement safety. Okay, there are different elements which has to be covered, which has to be taken care of, and then we go and implement our management system. Okay, understood? Right, any more doubts on this? Clear? Now if you go through the material again, you will have a very good clarity and it is easy to understand. Just it is simplified, kept it in point wise so that you can have all the matter in your fingertips. Okay, just go through it and that will be much more sufficient. That's it. HSE management system.